What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hitting the Field. I'm your host, Grant Wheeler, filling in for the great Alex Funderburk, who unfortunately is in concussion protocol. We hope he gets better soon. It is our fourth episode of Hitting the Field this semester, and as with all things go, the show must go on, so Hitting the Field starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm joined by two wonderful guests. On my right, Johan Blanco. How are you doing today, Johan?
I'm good, man. We just had some great fights, so I'm really pumped.
And on my left, Cameron Forcier. How was your weekend?
Good. Vikings won. That's all that matters.
And we'll talk about the NFL later. But first, we are going to dig into some UFC. And first, we're going to start with the middleweight fight between Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. Lawler wins the middleweight bout by KO, TKO in 44 seconds into round 3. What is your biggest take from that fight, Johan?
The biggest thing is that Nick Diaz really should have stayed retired or at least stopped fighting because honestly, he looked like he was, just out for 6 years. He didn't look like he had enough pop in his punches. His cardio, which should have been his best attribute, shot down right in the first round. And he just really looked like he was unenthusiastic in the cage.
And Cameron, what do you think about Nick Diaz, and Robbie Lawler, their first fight together since 2004? Do you think Nick Diaz not fighting since 2015, do you think that played a factor into his defeat?
Yeah, it definitely had something to do with it. Robbie Lawler is actually 5-0 in rematch fights. He's always avenged himself. And like Johan said, the Diazes are known for their cardio. They are known to just go in there, take beatings, and whether it's a choke late or a knockout or something, they always find a way. They run triathlons. They are super athletes, but he just did not look ready to fight at all.
So were you surprised that Nick Diaz wasn't prepared?
I was not really surprised. I mean, Jake Shields, who is, one of Nick Diaz's closest friends and his training partner, said that he didn't really have much time to train for this thing. And also, changing the bout from a welterweight bout to a middleweight kind of also, posed a red flag for me. But really, once the fight happened, I already knew right away. Once he started fighting, once he started throwing, everything was going in slow motion. Nothing really had a pop to it. Nothing was doing significant damage to Robbie Lawler in that bout. Even though he threw for over 100 strikes in the first round, they weren't really significant.
And let's talk about Robbie Lawler. What did you see out of him the most from that fight?
I mean, Robbie Lawler is obviously very old. He's a veteran, seasoned. He's one of the, not pillars, but he's a very big name for any UFC fan. And coming off 0-4 streak, he looked good, but of course it is Nick Diaz. But I mean, his hooks were landing, his checks were good. He looked good. He liked to keep it standing, which is something you want to see between two old guys fighting. You don't want to see the ground stuff. And he looked smart.
And I'm going to keep it to you here, Cameron. Did you think the fight was going to go beyond 3, or do you think it was going to end quicker than that?
I actually did not know it was going to be a 5-round fight. There's only been, I want to say, one fight previous that was not a co-main event or a championship that went 5 rounds, and it was the Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards fight last time. So I had no idea it was, but I did not see it lasting that long.
And Johan, going into the fight, how long did you think it was going to last?
Well, I thought, because I wanted Nick Diaz to win. I definitely did. I thought that, it would be a great, comeback story coming from 6 years off, to beat Robbie Lawler and to kind of put himself back into contention in that division. But the biggest thing is that putting a 5-round fight right away after 6 years, it was a bad choice because, I mean, cage rush is a thing. It's a real thing, and I think that going 25 minutes straight away was the worst possible outcome.
And now we're going to shift our focus to the featherweight main card between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. Cameron.
Fight of the year. It started good. It started tight first round. What? Okay, it started kind of tight, and then Volkanovski started to pull away second round, and then round 3 is when it popped, and that's when it became fight of the year for me.
And as we saw, Volkanovski got out to a little slow start, but really regrouped himself as the fight progressed.
Yeah, I definitely think that this was a fight of the year, but I think I feel like coming in the future, there's going to be more fights that might change that. But I think, though, that Volkanovski proved what I told Okelo on bets on Thursday, which is if Brian Ortega gets into a striking matchup, he's going to be a long night for him because overall, offensively, Brian Ortega as a striker is good, but defensively, his reaction time is super slow and he does not have the head movement that these elite strikers have in that featherweight division. Yes, his jiu-jitsu is great and everything, but he does not have the defensive intelligence standing up to fight him.
And what do you think about Brian Ortega? Do you think the lack of speed posed a problem for him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Johan said, he is a BJJ fighter. He did train under Royce Gracie, black belt, so stand-up was never going to be his game. Lack of speed, punch speed, he got check hooked a lot. It was just not his game on his feet.
And this Volkanovski, how he progressed in the fight, what caught your eye in that?
I think the biggest thing is that he stuck to his game plan. He stuck to what he did against Max Holloway twice. He stuck to what he did against Jose Aldo. He stuck to what he did against Chad Mendez. And that's playing chess, not checkers. He is one of the most intelligent fighters in the UFC currently, and he used that lead leg kick to stabilize the front leg of Brian Ortega. He used check hooks. He used his jab to clip him and to kind of mess up his peripheral vision. So overall, I think he used his game plan to a T.
And you think Volkanovski's strategic game plan helped him out in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you have a 2-inch reach advantage, you do want to use it. In the very first round, he did hold his lead left in front of Ortega's head just to kind of cut down the range, prevent him from leading with a straight right. Because if you can't throw a jab at what you can't see. And if you have a fist in your face, you can't see it. So that definitely, establishing that early and then keeping things standing when he could is definitely what caused him to win.
And Cameron, going into the fight, how long did you think it was going to last? Do you think it was going to go all the way through, or did you think one of the two, like Volkanovski, was going to end it much earlier?
I thought it was going to be Volkanovski knockout in the third round.
No, not at all. No, I thought it was going the distance. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to go the distance the entire time, just because Volkanovski has gone the distance for the past 3 fights. So I knew for a fact that he was going to, he was going to play a smart game, but he was definitely not going to stop Brian Ortega, because Brian Ortega is tough. He'll take 100 punches, but he's not going to get finished.
So your initial prediction going into the fight was that
it's going to distance.
It's going to go all the way through.
It's going to go to distance.
And it did.
5 rounds, and it did.
And it was one for the ages as well, as you said.
I mean, he said fight of the year, but I want to put that on the barn burner for another fight. So.
Oh, okay, I see. All right. And now we're going to shift our focus to the woman flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy, as Shevchenko retains the women's flyweight title bout by KO and TKO in 4 minutes into round 4. Johan, take it away.
It was a showcase. It was not a fight. It was a showcase. What that means is it was complete and utter dominance for 4 rounds. It should have been stopped earlier because Lauren Murphy didn't really have any offensive output against Valentina Shevchenko, but it was dominance. Like I said on bets on Thursday, she's the new Demetrius Johnson. She's cleaning out the division. The skill discrepancy between her and all the other flyweights is like this. So I think that she's just going to reign upon this division until she chooses to retire.
And Cameron, what is your takeaway from that women flyweight battle?
Everything she did was like a science. The only time that Lauren Murphy had any sort of offense was when she accidentally tripped and just like stepped on Shevchenko's foot. So I think that the way she just, every time Lauren Murphy took a step to the left or the right to try and cut down an angle, Shevchenko was right there and almost beat her to the spot.
And do you think Valentina Shevchenko should fight Amanda Nunes for a 3rd time?
I think it would be difficult because they'd have to change weights. Amanda Nunes is too big to go down, and I think Shevchenko has such a stronghold on her weight class that I do not see her moving up anytime soon.
And Johan, Amanda Nunes is arguably the GOAT of women's MMA. Do you think they should fight for a trilogy?
I mean, I want them to, but Valentina Shevchenko looks so comfortable in her flyweight division, just cleaning it out and, making defense after defense, that I don't think she really wants that. I know that they both do, and I know that Dana White really wants to, but I think that right now, because Amanda Nunes right now is 2-0 against Valentina, I don't think it's the right time until Valentina starts making consecutive after consecutive after consecutive defense.
And did you think the fight was going to go 4 rounds?
No, I thought it was going to be 0 rounds just because the skill discrepancy was just so big.
And you think the fight was going to go 4 rounds as well?
Not at all. Me and Johan were talking before. I had second round knockout. I had Shevchenko going in and finishing it early.
Okay, and we're going to be heading into commercial now. When we come back, we'll be talking some NFL Week 3 action.
Welcome to the HTF Hot Wings Challenge. What do you guys actually do hot sauce like regularly?
No.
No.
It's like the least black thing I do.
Oh, wow, okay.
I say Johnny goes first on this one.
I agree.
Now the Buccaneers are going to play the Washington football team.
That can't happen.
It will happen.
I'm terrified.
No, I really hate it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. No. You're wrong. If it wasn't for Kanye jumping up on stage and doing the I'm gonna let you finish, but no one would know what this with.
Nitros, dump truck. And if you don't know what I'm talking about,
Why is nitro thick?
I don't know how many squats I need to do to get up like something like that, but I will do it.
Oh! Oh my God!
Baseball, obvious reasons. Babe Ruth, if you want to go currently. I feel like that's just like a thing.
he jumped off the wall to catch the home run. We made it through all the way to the end. Thank you for joining us.
I'm never doing this again.
It was rough.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to be talking some Week 3 action in the NFL. It was quite the week with lots of surprises, especially in that Kansas City Chiefs Los Angeles Chargers game in Arrowhead. I'm going to start with you, Cameron. Were you shocked about the Chargers going in there and taking a victory from them?
I mean, any loss by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is always a shock, but I think the Chargers have played him very well. Justin Herbert did match with 281 yards and 4 touchdowns, and their defense played strong, obviously forcing those turnovers. Eckler had over 100 total yards. They matched the Chiefs, and at the end, I think the team that performed better won.
And Johan, were you surprised that Chiefs, an offense as potent as them, committed 4 turnovers?
I'm not really surprised just because the Chargers have always given the Chiefs a tough matchup. You know, last season, the Chiefs beat them the first time 23-20 in overtime, and then their second matchup, they actually defeated the Chiefs in Week 17. So I wasn't surprised, but I was more surprised with the Chargers' defensive line and, you know, just breaking through the O-line and giving Mahomes trouble, giving him the inability to, you know, throw in the pocket and making him scramble.
And Cameron, are you concerned about Kansas City because they've lost 2 straight now, and quite frankly, they could be 0-3 because they barely scraped by the Browns in Week 1. Is the defense, do you think it's going to shore up, or do you think they have some issues at hand that's going to last through the whole season?
I think the defense definitely needs to be worked on. Obviously, they do have Tyrann Mathieu, they do have Frank Clark, so they are fine. But what I think they're starting to turn the corner because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who did struggle a little bit in the first 2 weeks, he was solid in his rookie season, but he wasn't anything special. He went over 100 total yards, which is something you want to see against a division opponent who is a good team who you most likely will face in the playoffs, or at the very end of the season, it's going to be a very important game. So I'm not worried about them yet.
And Johan, are you concerned about the Chiefs right now?
I'm a little bit concerned as the favorites just because they have lost 2 games already. And I'm not saying that, you know, don't count them out yet, but I think now that the Bills and the Browns are steadily getting closer to being the top contender in that AFC.
And yes, the Chiefs, they got a lot to deal with in the AFC. It's a very strong conference. As you said, Buffalo, Baltimore is also in there. It's not going to be a cakewalk for them. It will definitely be a tough road ahead. Now let's talk about the Ravens and the Lions. What a game. First of all, I'm surprised the Lions even came back in that game. I thought the Ravens had that game in the bag, but Jared Goff and that offense fought back. What's your takeaway from that game?
Justin Tucker is the GOAT kicker. 66 yards. That is unbelievable. He is the GOAT kicker. I don't want to say anything else. I'm not going to get too analytical. That is my take on that game.
And Cameron?
I mean, Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker. He is consistently, year in and out, the best kicker in the league. You have him on your roster, and you know it is a guaranteed 3 points as long as you cross the 40. And now as long as you cross the 50.
And And I think people forget that in 2013, Justin Tucker did the same thing to Detroit on Monday Night Football. He kicked a 64-yard field goal, and he did it again. Are you surprised he did it again? 66 yards, 2 yards out more this time.
I'm not surprised because he's shown it throughout his career that he can kick from a long distance, and he's one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. So I wasn't surprised that he was able to get this. It was very climactic how he did it, and it deserves all the attention in the world, but I was not surprised one bit.
And I also want to give credit to Lamar Jackson because he's the one that set that field goal up because they were deep in their own territory, and he got all the way to midfield just to even set that up for Justin Tucker. So we definitely have to give props to Lamar Jackson. What did you say?
Lamar Jackson did great. Hollywood Brown almost cost them the game. He had 7 targets, caught 3 of them, 2 drops. I think both of them were in the end zone that were just basic back shoulder streaks he should have caught if you're Hollywood Brown. And Lamar Jackson, despite not having a top receiver, I mean, he has Mark Andrews, that's a tight end. Despite having the top receiver because Rashad Bateman is on IR, he is still Lamar Jackson.
And do you think Justin Tucker is the best kicker of all time?
He's up there. He's very quickly risen there. It's him, Vinatieri, and Grammatica are the top 3.
Do you think he surpassed Vinatieri?
Just a little bit. I mean, Vinatieri has had the longest career, and he's been the most clutch kicker in the most important moments, and he's probably the most iconic kicker. But I think he's past Adam Vinatieri.
And back to the Lions game real quick. On the Lions side, were you guys surprised, Cameron, that the Lions even got back in that game to begin with?
No. I don't know if you watched their game in week 2, but when they needed the drive down the field, it was dumping off to DeAndre Swift, who would make plays in space. And DeAndre Swift had over 100 total yards, and Jamal Williams had 60-plus total yards. The fact that they have the two-headed beast in Detroit after going so long without, they went, I think, 4 or 5 straight years without a 100-yard rushing game, and now they have 2 very good running backs. I think that Jared Goff fits that offense.
Cameron, you're my boy, man. You're my boy, but I have to disagree with you, man. I was surprised. I was surprised that Detroit was able to come back. I mean, this organization has been a mess. Yes, the running game is their bright spot in this entire organization. They have 2 great running backs in Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Both can play, both can run really well. Both can do receiving backs as well. But let's be honest, the O-line is bad. The defense is bad. The front office is bad. Everything about, even the colors are bad. Everything about Detroit is bad. So, of course, I was surprised that they were able to come back against Baltimore.
Yeah, it just seems that Detroit Lions are just a snake-bitten organization that any kind of play like that, for some reason, always happens to them. It's just the way it is. And the NFL is just, they have the bad luck. They're on the bad luck of things. So it is what it is. And sorry, Detroit fans. It must be tough for you guys out there. Now let's shift our focus to the 4 o'clock window, the Bucks and the Rams, the marquee game of the week. What was your take about Matthew Stafford? Because he never was in a game. He never was ever really in a game that big early in the season, and he was this year, and he executed quite well.
I think that Matthew Stafford, throughout the 3 games, is probably the best quarterback in the NFL through 3 games. Just through 3 games. That's all I'm saying. He has 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he's played phenomenal. The Rams right now are undefeated. They beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they beat them pretty good. It was a pretty good game, but I think that, Matthew Stafford has been able to show in Los Angeles that he is an elite quarterback with weapons around him, with a good O-line around him, with a solid foundation in the organization. You are now seeing how good Matthew Stafford is.
And were you surprised that Matthew Stafford went in there slinging it yesterday, especially to Cooper Kupp?
Matthew Stafford has always been a slinger. He just happened to have not many targets outside of, obviously, Megatron. The Rams have been a quarterback away for a while, and Jared Goff was good, but bringing Matthew Stafford makes them, to me, the de facto number 1 team in the NFC.
And Cameron, I'm going to stick with you here. Do you think the Rams, they have what it takes now to take it all the way? Now that they have Matthew Stafford, they have the missing piece, do you think they could surpass the Bucs come playoff time?
Yes. I think that losing Cam Akers to a torn Achilles in training camp and preseason really hurts, but Darrell Henderson is good. And Sony Michel is a very viable backup. Obviously, he has experience with the Patriots behind Tom Brady, like with Tom Brady in the big moments. I think that the Rams have what it takes.
And Johan, do you think Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford is the NFL's best connection right now?
Through 3 games, yes. Cooper Kupp killed me in fantasy. I'm really mad. Now I'm winless in that big money league. So, yes, they are the best connection. I mean, just look at I'm looking through fantasy, and the points that he's been putting up is crazy. And I think that, if they can stay consistent like this throughout the rest of the season, I think this is going to be the best duo this season in the NFL.
I want some record predictions right now. I know it's early on. What do you think the Rams' record will be by the end of the year if they stay healthy?
17-game season, I could see them finishing 14-3.
Johan?
I'm trying to think. I see them going 13-4.
13-4. I have them going probably 15-2. I mean, if they stay healthy, that offense and that defense, both top 5 easily. They're just really in sync right now. And Sean McVay.
You said 2 losses?
Yeah, 2 losses.
Man. No, you're crazy.
Their biggest
You're
test
crazy.
was Tampa, or their biggest test so far, and they came out and they showed why they are the team to beat in the NFC right now.
No. It's going to be 4 losses, I'm telling you.
And do you think come playoff time that Tom Brady will get his redemption or his revenge if they meet the Rams?
I mean, yeah, I think that the Bucs in the playoffs is a whole different story. I definitely think Tom Brady in the playoffs is a whole different story. I still think that the Bucs are the favorite in the NFC, a slight favorite, but they are the favorite just because it is early in the season, and Tom Brady usually picks it up towards the midway to the end of the season.
And back to Matthew Stafford again. When he was in Detroit, he never really played in a game with that much interest early on in the season. And at first, at the beginning of the game, he kind of was sluggish, but then he really found his rhythm and his groove, and he just showed out. And let's not forget Deshaun Jackson, that deep ball down the field. That was a beauty, wasn't it?
Yes, that was.
And we have to go talk about the Rams' defense as well. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. We can't forget about that defensive unit.
Yeah, that defensive unit is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed by them. I think that, they really impressed me. They really, pressured Tom Brady throughout the game. And I think that if they're going to make a big run in the playoffs, a big run throughout the season, it's going to be by that defense.
And Cameron, that Rams defense, how far do you think they'll take them? Do you think it'll take them more on the offense, or do you think the offense will take them more?
I mean, the defense alone took them to the Super Bowl back in 2018. It took them to the NFC Championship game, I believe, last year, or very deep in the playoffs. Aaron Donald has played 7 seasons, and he is a 6-time first-team All-Pro. He is going to retire as, in my opinion, the best defensive lineman of all time if he can keep it up.
And that is it for our NFL segment. We'll be back for the rant after this commercial.
Sure.
Of a show creator who was gearing up to form a bigger crew.
One's a California guy,
A god of graphics.
One hosted Girls on Deck.
it's a story of a 4-year nightmare, which is finally coming to an end. Thank God.
And the new kid, a Packers lover.
Tampa forever. So then one day all these people work together to face a year unlike one that's ever been. And his group rebranded in Orlando. That's the way we all became HTFN. 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 That's the way we became HTFN. That's blasphemy!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I want to thank my wonderful guest analyst for joining me today. It was a great show, but it is officially time for the rant. A crazy scene happened in the Akron versus Ohio State game on Saturday night. The game itself was quite the snoozer, but there was some heavy drama on the Ohio State sideline with senior linebacker Kayvon Pope and the Ohio State coaching staff. Pope, who I just said is a senior, obviously didn't show senior leadership when he threw a temper tantrum in front of multiple coaches and players. Pope thought it was wise to throw his gloves in the stands because he wasn't substituted into the game for a series. If you're going to get that heated over a substitution, you need some serious help, and that's what Kayvon Pope needs, serious help. You're a senior linebacker for one of the most major college football programs in the country, and you decide it's okay to just quit on your team like that? A very pathetic and immature act, to say the least. I was astonished when I first saw the notification on my phone. And Pope might as well look up to Vontae Davis, who quit on the Buffalo Bills back in Week 2 of the 2018 NFL season. Pope also wrote a nasty tweet about Ohio State on Twitter and then immediately apologized right after. An apology isn't going to be enough to justify what you did, Kayvon. You're going to have to do a lot more than that. and I'm honestly surprised he's on scholarship for the remainder of the semester. Kayvon Pope needs to be escorted out of the university altogether, just how he got escorted from the Ohio State football program. And that is it for today's 4th episode of Hitting the Field. We had a great show, and we'll be back next week.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I